Hello, America. How you doing? I'm at the lowest point in my life. I'm not depressed. I have no will to kill myself. I love myself. I just want you to know what I have gone through in 31 years. I've been vilified and maliciously convicted for rape, kidnapping, and 2 counts of lewd and lascivious, which I never committed. It was done so by my judge and my public defender. Not the second public defender, the first one, who withdrew from the case out of conflict of interest. The reason why he did this was because when he offered me 5 years probation for a conviction, I said yes. In doing so, I did not know the conviction was going to be for rape, kidnapping, and 2 counts of lewd and lascivious. I did everything in my power to do the right thing. The minute I committed the assault, I took the victim, picked up my wife, and we both went, all three of us went to the police station. And I told them exactly what happened. And I was arrested and taken to jail. In that time, I was offered 5 years probation. But on my 30-day hearing, that all changed. I was offered not the 5 years probation for the charges of assault. I was offered to go home with no charges whatsoever. Well, I went to my mother's. I went to my cell. They told me I was going to be released a week later, and instead of on the 30th day being released, that I was going to be released with no charges on the 37th day to meet the guidelines of what they need to do to drop the charges, which is 37 days. When I got back to my cell, I spoke to my mother. I called her, I spoke to her. I told her that I was going home a week from now. Her in disbelief and her loving for her children, she decided to go ahead and cry and ask me how did I know and who told me. And I told her, well, the judge, I was in a private meeting in the courts with the judge, myself, and my public defender. They had offered me 5 years probation, which I took. Then they seen that I was never a threat to the community and that I was a good person and that everybody's entitled to one mistake in their life. So they went ahead and said I was going to be released with no charges. And that's how that all transpired. But when I told my mom that I was being released and she didn't know or she didn't know how to believe me or expect it, she needed details. I told my mother that I observed my judge and my public defender having what looked like a relationship. And when I said that to my mother over the phone, they went ahead and heard the conversation. And what they did was decide to go ahead and ruin my life. So they denied me my release. I stayed in jail for 8 months, waiting on trial. When I finally got to trial, I took a plea for assault, and I was sent to prison for 5 years. My second public defender came to my defense when they tried to label me as a sexual predator, sex offender. Why? Because the criteria is you could only become a sexual predator or a sex offender if you commit that crime, or if you have a history of that crime. Well, I had none, and I never had. I was married to a beautiful woman. I was going to college. I finished my GED 3 years prior, before me going to college. I was working hard. I was a manager not a manager. I was an employee for Granger. Prior to that, I was a manager for Payless Shoes. So I knew what it was to handle responsibility. And I've always been that way. I've always decided to be the type of person that I would never run from the truth. Even though it could hurt me, I would never run from the truth. And when I went ahead and when I picked up my wife, and me and my wife and the victim went to the police station, and I told the police exactly what happened, they looked at me like I was crazy. How can this man just walk in here and give, like a testimony of what might have happened? So after all that transpired, I was sent to prison. I finished my time, and I decided to go ahead and come out and become a model person of the community. Well, I couldn't become that model person in the community because I was being targeted by the courts. They went ahead and changed my charges from the assault to rape, kidnapping, and 2 counts of lewd and lascivious, which is a total of 80 years. So I ask you, why would you give a man who's committed rape, kidnapping, and 2 counts of lewd and lascivious 5 years in prison? Why? Because the man did not commit rape, kidnapping, and 2 counts of lewd and lascivious. This is you who decided to give this man this label, which is me. This is what you did to my life. And for the past 31 years, I've been struggling to try to free myself from the sabotage that these courts have done upon my life. In 2004, I was released from prison in 1998. I did my 3 years. I got out. I was released in 1998. In 2004, I filed an FBI complaint affidavit stating that they had convicted me for crimes I did not commit. When I did that, that triggered a hatred where they wanted to go ahead and continue just burying me in the court system. From 1998 to the day I filed my FBI complaint affidavit in 2004, I had no arrests, none whatsoever. And when that happened, from 2004 to 2005, 6, and 7, I was arrested over 13 times. Not once was it for a new crime. Not once was it for a new crime. They have arrested me all the times that they've arrested me on what they call I can't remember the name, but they're called certain charges where, they're called technical violations. They're called technical violations. And having these technical violations, they decided to ruin my life and ruin my life and ruin my life. And all they kept on doing was plastering sex offender predator, sex offender predator, sex offender predator. But I knew I was innocent. And every time I tried to get the documents from the courts, I was being denied. And I kept on trying, but I still could not get the documents from the courts. So it took me 27 years to get these documents. I just got out of prison. I did 10 years in prison for being homeless. I was homeless for 1 month. I was taking care of my dying mother. And these people, this court, these people who have their own colleagues that will defend them, even when they're doing wrong, they went ahead and sent me to prison for a mandatory 10 years for being homeless for 1 month. And it was really 1 day, because I filed for homelessness the following day after I realized that some investor came in and took my brother's house, which I was living in his house. And they went ahead and took his house, which made me a homeless person. Now, I was living there 15 years. From 2000 to 2013 to 2015, 16, I apologize. From 2000 to 2015, I was living in the house. Constantly being arrested, constantly being targeted by the courts, and them denying me the documents. Well, I finally got the documents of the case. It took me 27 years to get those documents. I received them in 2020, 2021. And I only got them because the federal court, the Southern District of Florida, stepped in and helped me and finally got me those documents that vindicated me, or can vindicate me, for my crimes. Now, when I was in prison in 2016, from 2016 to 2025, when I was incarcerated from 2015 to 2025, mandatory. I was only given this because I whistleblowed a situation where a doctor and the courts and certain judges were allowing certain people to enter the classes that I was attending for sex offenders. But these people were special. They weren't being charged. They were committing the crimes, but they weren't being charged. They went ahead and told them all they had to do was pay $25,000 and go to the class for 3 to 6 months until the facilitator thought that you would be successful in completing the program. I never got that opportunity. Many people never got that opportunity. There was only, they had this special class, which once I made the attack, once I built the attack on the sex offender program, and I attacked the facilitator for harboring these people who were committing these crimes and not allowing them to see justice the same way we all had experienced justice. That they get to hide, pay money, and get to hide for 3 to 6 months while they commit crimes on children. I never committed the rape that they said I committed, but they said I committed it, and they went ahead and falsified it, falsified documents, falsified hearings, falsified everything to give me a false conviction. Now I struggle where they're sabotaging my life. This is the lowest point of my life. From here, the only thing I can expect is that they'll come for me. They'll come for me and they'll destroy me. They almost destroyed me in prison. They killed my brother, who was a Miami-Dade PD captain for 22 years. They killed my mother, who was a Miami-Dade children and families, or children and child development employee for Dade County Corrections for 22 years. For 13 years, but she did food stamps prior to that for a total of 9 years, and they came out to 22 years total. They destroyed and killed her. I come to the community because I have no other place to go to. I have no one. They've done this to me. They'll do it to anybody. I expect everything. I want everything. I want my family back. I want my children back. Because of what they did to me, they have scattered my children all across the Florida, what do you want to say? The coast of Florida. Well, they even deported my wife and children of my second marriage in 2006. Where they said to my wife that because, my second wife, that because she was married to me, that they were going to deport her, and this is what they had to do. My wife, being a mother, I could have stayed with my children, but me having such a beautiful mom myself, I could not see myself allowing my kids to live a life without a mother. So I went ahead and gave my wife the opportunity to take the children. So when she takes the children, she lives in Czech Republic, and they're denying her from coming back. Now, mind you, my wife has been in this country 8 years, 10 years prior to me being married to her. But when I got married to her, I filed a I-130, which is approval of marriage. And I went to a hearing where she was arrested. Not only was she arrested, but she was heartbroken because she never thought that these people would stoop so low and just destroy families. This is my life. I live in a car. I have nowhere else to go. I have no money, no job. As you can see by my eyes, that I am a beat man for many years. But my heart with God has never faltered. It's because of Him I lasted this long. It's because of Him that I love my children and I wish to be with them before I pass. Now, when I tell you I was poisoned a year and a half ago by the Miami-Dade courts, by the Miami-Dade jail in TGK, by the medical staff, because they didn't like my charges. You poisoned the wrong man. You poisoned an innocent man. You poisoned him with lithium just because you wanted to be God. You didn't like my charges. You never even bothered to find out who I was. You allowed the courts to go ahead and lead your decisions. My life will be over soon. I'm already old. I'm beat. No medical facility wants to entertain me. And trust, to be honest with you, I don't even trust no medical facility or no doctor for that matter. Why have you guys come to this point? I'm not saying that all sex offenders are innocent. All predators are innocent. I'm not saying that. But I am saying this one that you chose to vilify, to maliciously convict, to destroy his life, and to destroy the life of his mother and brother. You are the evil. And you will be dealt with. All of you will be dealt with by God. I promise you that. I'll be dealt with too. I will be dealt with. But what you guys have done to me, there's no excuse. So now you want to go ahead and put sex offender on my driver's license. Now you want to make sure that I become the pariah that you want me to be. Anybody who knows me from high school, anybody who knows me from junior high school, some of you have passed already, some of you are dead. And anybody who's knew me in my family, they got to know me. You know the person I was and the person I am. Please, stand up for me. Show these people who've done this to me that they picked the wrong person. They chose the wrong person to destroy. I came here to give to life. I came here to help life, not to destroy it. I was born for a purpose. And that purpose was to be good to others and to come up with solutions to help. You have made me feel like I'm worthless, but it didn't work. I've always felt like I was important. Important to myself, important to my family, and most importantly, important to God. So, you have this to contend with. No court wants to give me justice after I filed my direct appeal with all three exhibits showing that I'm innocent. Well, this is my trial to you against the courts. And I'm going to let the people decide after the evidence reaches the truth. I'm at the lowest point in my life, but I'm not beat, and I love God. And this is my life. This is how I live. I sleep in sweats. I eat in discomfort. I cannot exercise because of the pain that the poison has caused to my muscles and my joints. But this is it. This is what you love to do, destroy people, right? Okay. You feel good about this? Okay. Enjoy it. We all have to pay for our prices, our cross. We all carry our own cross. And you will carry yours.